Congressman Adam Smith is a Democrat of Washington. He's the ranking member of the Armed Services Committee. He watched that full video of the strike today, and he joins me now. Congressman, thank you for making time with us. I guess we quoted some of your impression of it. I wonder if you can just characterize for our audience that hasn't been able to see the video what you saw and what your reaction was to it.
Sure. I mean, first of all, we need to be clear. There was no fog of war. They had a clear vision of these two people on top of what was left of their capsized boat for quite a while. I think it was somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour after the initial strike. So they could see clearly what was going on. First. Second, I saw Senator Cotton say that the two gentlemen were trying to turn their boat back up, I guess. That is patently ridiculous. That boat wasn't going anywhere. And by the way, that's not the justification that Admiral Bradley even offered. So it's two people sitting on a tiny little portion of a boat sticking out of the water that's capsized. Now, the justification for this was that it was possible that the cocaine was still, I guess, underneath that small portion of the boat that remained, and these two people were not completely disabled. I mean, they were in the middle of an ocean sitting on, a capsized boat. So conceivably, they could, quote, get back into the fight. I mean, that's really, really questionable in those circumstances, but it also underpins the entire problem with this mission. What is the fight exactly that these two were going to get back into? Yes, drugs are a major problem in the U.S., but these people were trafficking cocaine thousands of miles from the U.S. with drugs that may or may not even have been headed to the United States. So, yeah, the video is really troubling. And if people see it, I don't think it's going to be good for Secretary Hegseth or this administration.
Do you think people should see it?
Yes, 100%. There's nothing classified about this. Nothing at all. Also, should be nothing classified about the Office of Legal Counsel memo that lays out the very, very highly debatable legal justification for doing these strikes in the first place. So that, too, should be public, and we should have a public hearing. Secretary Hegseth should come before our committee and the American people, explain what he's doing, and justify it. Because this is I don't think it's justifiable. I think we need more public exposure on that.
There has been some conflicting reporting about the timeline here. Initial reporting from the Washington Post indicated that it was a matter of minutes in which whoever had eyes on this could see that there were these two individuals who were shipwrecked. I read another report, I believe, in the Wall Street Journal that said it was an hour. Could you tell from timestamps or the video you saw what the timeline was like?
It was closer to an hour. And that's another thing that's interesting about this. From the moment this broke, and we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for the Washington Post. Because even though they publish all of the videos of all of the strikes, they didn't release the video of this strike. Yes. And I don't think that was an accident. So since that time, remember, first of all, Secretary Hegseth, fake news didn't happen, never happened. And then he said, well, it happened, but that guy did it. And then it was the fog of war. No one could see it. None of that turned out to be true.
The last point you made about the drugs and what the fight is, just to stay on that for a second. I mean, it's so striking to me, this idea that they were going to get back in the fight when the fight was maybe, and again, you may be more convinced of this because you have access to intelligence, I don't. We don't have any independent confirmation these people were running drugs. I just want to say that that's the assertion of the Department of Defense. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, I can't say. But assuming it is for the moment, that the fight is like people are going to maybe, with like a half a ship, swim to some atoll or island with a little bit of cocaine that survived that will then be sold to someone. That they are saying that is an act of war.
Right. Even accepting their premise, which is highly questionable, I just don't see this. I mean, like you said, so we got this tiny little portion of a ship that's left. Maybe there's some cocaine there. Admiral Bradley admitted that there's no way that this ship was ever going to be navigable again. It was drifting with the current. It was going to go wherever the current took it. So even within that, but go back to that original premise. And this is what I want people to understand. People get coming up and say, well, why do we have more sympathy for the drug dealers than for the people being killed by their drugs? We don't. Okay? We do not. The drug problem is a major problem in the United States of America. But what you are asking us to do about it is to give the President of the United States the authority to execute the death penalty for anybody that he deems a drug dealer. He's judge, jury, and executioner. No due process, No probable cause. He simply decides, because if these two people hanging out on a shipwrecked boat are capable of returning the fight, then anyone affiliated with any of these drug dealers is apparently fair game if the president determines that they are. That's a power we shouldn't want to give the president, to execute people without any process, without any information. And the whole legal underpinning of this, yes, drugs are a problem. It's not the same thing as an armed group of terrorists coming in to blow things up. So I think there needs to be a distinction, and there is, of course, no congressional authorization. All these analogies to what was happening under Bush or Obama, there was congressional authorization. There was a very public process. There's no congressional authorization for this. It's a massive expansion, the expansion of presidential powers.
Pete Hegseth, obviously, you just mentioned before that you think that he has not been forthcoming or even truthful in his characterization of this. We also got the Inspector General's report.
That's not debatable. He hasn't been truthful. Yeah.
Yes, I would agree. You got the Inspector General's report today about Signalgate, in which he refused to turn his phone over. He refused to talk to investigators altogether. Do you have any confidence in him? Should he resign? What should Congress do about Pete Hegseth?
Well, absolutely he should resign. I said that a long time ago. You know, and after the Signalgate, not just how bad the Signalgate was. And by the way, anybody with just a tiny, tiny little bit of experience in classified information would be utterly appalled by what Secretary Hegseth did and the information he shared. But then after doing it, he said, no problem, everything's fine. He doesn't even want to correct the mistake. And understand, this is one of the major through lines of the Trump administration. They do not believe that they have to follow the law. Now, I've been doing this for a long time. There's a lot of presidents who get into debates about what their powers are, what they can do, what they can't do. This is an administration that doesn't bother with that debate. It is lawful in their mind because they're doing it, and nobody has the right to question them. To see that report that came out, it's full exoneration. In the report, it says that Secretary Hegseth placed the lives of our service members at unnecessary risk, and he thinks that's just fine. No problem. Nothing to see here. I did it, therefore it's right. There is no accountability and no willingness to follow the law. And it's on the tariffs. It's on, sending our troops, sending, active duty Marines into Los Angeles. It's the way he's using ICE, picking up and detaining people. It's refusing to obey direct court orders. It's endless.
Do you think that one of the things that happened today was Republicans came out and some very publicly said nothing to see here, it's fine. Tom Cotton said these two gentlemen were about to get back in the fight. Do you think that there's any bipartisan, I mean, you've been a pretty bipartisan lawmaker. The work on that committee traditionally, which you've been on for a while, has traditionally been pretty bipartisan. Do you think there's bipartisan appetite for genuine oversight here?
I mean, there's a sliver of it. And yes, the Armed Services Committee has been very bipartisan. I work very well with Chairman Mike Rogers. We're working on the National Defense Authorization Act right now, which, knock on wood, has a chance to be a bipartisan bill this year. I think it will be. And I think there is growing anger, even amongst Republicans, that Pete Hegseth's Department of Defense is not providing them any information either. I mean, they won't even talk to Democrats, but even the Republicans. And just one minor example, the execute order for this mission in Latin America was issued on August 5th. By law, they are supposed to transmit all execute orders from the Department of Defense to our committees within 30 days. They haven't done it. They haven't done any of the execute orders that they've done. We have asked them for a whole bunch of information. They don't turn it over. So Republicans are getting frustrated with the lack of transparency and the lack of accountability. Will that frustration translate into the type of oversight that we should have? Probably not, but I'm going to take that little crack and try to push on it as much as I can to get as much accountability and as much oversight as possible. It won't be as much as there should be, but we got to keep pushing because these issues are too important.
Congressman Adam Smith, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Chris.
Coming up, nearly 6 years after someone planted pipe bombs around D.C. ahead of January 6th,